Players we are worried about being wrong about. I'll talk about David Montgomery and find out what the listeners think as well right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. All right, Heath, I got to admit, I'm a little worried about being wrong about David Montgomery. Haven't been able to draft him in any of our mocks. I'm willing to take him in the 4th round, but it seems like someone's willing to go a little bit earlier. Just as a guy who was pretty bad for more than a season and a half, and then 6 games or so at the end of last year, best running back in fantasy, essentially, and finished really high. It seems like the Bears have more confidence in him. Should I have more confidence in David Montgomery? Should I be willing to take him in the 3rd round?
I will strenuously object to the was pretty bad for the first year and a half. His efficiency as a runner was pretty bad, but he was breaking tackles like a madman. His elusiveness was off the charts. He just had an awful offensive line. I think it got better. The competition got easier. My concern with David Montgomery is not so much that he can't repeat what he did the last 6 games. It's Tariq Cohen. If Tariq Cohen is phased out, then yeah, we're all going to be wrong about David Montgomery, and he'll be a top 12 running back again.
Okay, so I asked our listeners, who were you worried about being wrong about? And of course, we just recorded like a 50-minute show talking about the players that I was wrong about who's on the show. David Heath are worried about being wrong about. But what did the listeners say? Tyler, and among others, Tyler, Fantasy Culture Podcast, and a few others said Jalen Hurts. Feel he's being way overhyped, but I acknowledge he could be a fantasy monster. And this is one where I don't know if people are worried about him stinking or that they think he stinks, but they're worried about him being incredible. Where are you on Hurts?
Yes, all of those things.
Right.
I currently have him QB 11. I think like the way that I view Jalen Hurts is he is the first guy, QB 10 actually. He's the first guy you should take when you're done with the quarterbacks that you like really believe have top 5 upside and are pretty certain are going to be top 12 quarterbacks. That's for me, Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, Murray, Wilson, Prescott, Tannehill, Brady, and Rodgers. You get past that group and you take him, but you could feel pretty foolish taking Tannehill, Brady, and Rodgers over Jalen Hurts if he's a 1,000-yard rusher.
Right.
Because as we saw from Lamar Jackson, you don't really have to be very good passing if you're a 1,000-yard rusher.
And that's what he was on pace for. He was on pace to be about a 1,000-yard rusher. Sean, and that was in his starts. Sean said he's worried about being wrong about Ezekiel Elliott. I'm buying back in. I'm loving it if you can get him at the end of the first, but I'm worried about Pollard taking more work, and I'm worried about Zeke's performance last season as more than a one-year fluke. And I'll also say to Sean, yeah, I think we'd be pretty happy about him going end of the first, but you're talking more like 6th overall now with Zeke, if not even a little earlier. So your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think he is one of those backs. He is 6th right now in NFC ADP, but you see the range. He's gone as early as 3rd, as late as 14th. So there's a big range of running backs once you get past those top 3 or 4 that kind of go all over the place. I'm more worried that I missed the great Zeke bounce back than I am that he was just bad. I think there were enough things explaining it, and it looks like he has really taken this offseason serious, which Ezekiel Elliott has not always done. I think he's going to bounce back, and if you get him after the first 5 picks, you're going to be happy with it.
Yeah, I did see a few people say they were worried about Justin Jefferson after a 1,400-yard season, but I think they're just worried that the run-heavy offense, and he'll fade a little bit in the second year.
Yeah, I've said it. He's going to be less efficient. I am almost certain. And so the question is, does he get the target share that he had towards the end of the year? Or do they go back to throwing the ball 28 times a game and he and Adam Thielen are kind of sharing? And so I don't think there's much risk that Justin Jefferson's going to be bad, but there is a risk that he has one of those Stephon Diggs or Adam Thielen wide receiver 2 seasons because the volume's low and you drafted him as a top 6 wide receiver and it doesn't work out.
Sure. All right. For more, check out Fantasy Football Today. Coming up this weekend on Fantasy Football Today in 5, Jacob Gibbs joins the program to talk about Terry McLaurin on Saturday and DK Metcalf on Sunday, what the advanced stats say and why he's very high on both of them, maybe higher than even the industry would be. So stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot to not Jamie, but Heath Cummings. I'm Adam Azer. Have a great weekend, everybody, and have a great 4th of July.